Hello, my name is Jeff Thompson, and I'm going to be talking to you about nonverbal communication and negotiation and understanding the meta model. And I created this meta model to try and help you be aware of all the nonverbal communication cues and elements that are going on during a negotiation. What do I mean by cues? Cues are any sort of physical movement or activity that you're doing. Element is the non-physical stuff. That includes your appearance and the location of where the negotiation setting is going on. So why be concerned with nonverbal communication? Well, I like to have this image up on the screen because I think that helps explain how nonverbal communication, it's all the little things that create the big impact that can help you try and get what it is that you want. And again, think about it. What's the goal of your negotiation? To try and come out better than you were before you went in there. Sometimes it's not always agreement, but sometimes it is getting that agreement that you're searching for. And all these little dots on the screen, think about it, it's all the different types of communication that's going on during your negotiation session. Of course, words, your verbal, are very important. So say it's that little circle there, but all these other dots, it's your nonverbal communication. What are some examples? Well, think about it. Eye contact is one, which is incredibly important. Maybe it's that circle. If you take away eye contact, is that going to ruin your ability to communicate? No, not necessarily. But now let's talk about what else. What's another important part of nonverbal communication? Hand gestures. What do you do with your hands? So think about that. And that's maybe this one right here. You take that away, does it ruin your ability to effectively communicate or negotiate? No, not really. Now you keep moving on though. Think about this. Maybe this circle here. Your tone. Important? Yes, but on its own, make or break you? No, not really. Now here's another one. Say your body orientation. And then this one, your body posture. The point being is, you keep taking away all these little things of your nonverbal communication that can make you effective. On their own, not a big deal, but collectively, all of a sudden you go from having a positive interaction, like you see on the screen, to operating or communicating in the dark. And when you're operating and communicating in the dark, it's not going to help you become an effective negotiator. And that's what I mean by all the little nonverbal communication elements and cues create that big opportunity to be a better negotiator, get what you want, or likewise the opposite end, it can hinder you and it makes you start operating and communicating in the dark, which is not what you want to do. So you're constantly encoding and decoding, and it's not just you, it's the other person that you're negotiating with. You're constantly sending out signals and you're constantly receiving them. So think about how incredibly important it is your intention and the perception. The encoding and decoding, when you're sending out the signals, are they being decoded the way you intended? And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but for example, building rapport. And if you cross your arms just because you say that's the way you feel comfortable, but if the person's decoding that as saying you're being standoffish, is that diminishing your rapport? And then what happens? Now you're aware of it, what do? Ultimately, it's up to you to decide how you're going to continue or what type of communication, including nonverbal communication, are you going to use. So to be aware of all the many different types of nonverbal communication going on in an interaction and try not to have your brain explode, I created the META acronym to help yourself be mindful of everything that's possible during your negotiation setting. And M stands for movement, E environment, T touch, T tone, A appearance. We're going to go through each of those very quickly, and then we're going to go back to them and delve a little bit deeper. So first, what do I mean by movement? That's what you probably think of is, body language. And that includes your facial cues, gestures, posture, orientation. And thinking about with facial cues, although culture is very important with all nonverbal communication, there's also universality to it. What do I mean by that? Like the universal expressions of emotions. And you think about, anger, happiness, sadness, fear, contempt, disgust. And how is that being portrayed? Who's expressing it, you or the other person? And are you aware of yourself? And are you aware of the other? Next, so incredibly important, but many people discount or overlook it, is the environment. All the different environmental factors going on during a negotiation. Location, design. So location, where are you having it? Design, what do you have in the room? Tables, chairs, couch. Layout, how far distance are you sitting from each other, and then time. What time of the day are you having it? At the very beginning of the day, in the morning, at the end of the day. Also time with respect to speaking and listening, and which one are you doing more of. Then the first T is touch. Do you shake hands with the person you're negotiating with? And again, gender issues come up, but then do you shake hands with one group and not the other if there's multiple parties? Adapters and leakage. That's unintentional communication cues, nonverbal, that you're giving out, not knowing it, but it's showing signs of anxiety, stress, discomfort. We're going to go into that a little bit more too, don't worry. Then we look at tone. It's how you say things. Think about not just the words, but how you're conveying them and what's the impact that it's having. Then finally, appearance. What you wear matters. Think about first impressions. People making judgments all the time about each other and one another before we even open our mouth, and our appearance has a big role in that. So further, we'll jump in first. Think about, you have two quick pictures on here. Your gestures. Are you being timid, aggressive, assertive? Are you being, are your words congruent with what you're saying and how you're doing it? So say you say, hey, look, I can't, I don't think we could come any lower on that. Or you're saying, look, I don't think we can come any lower on that. Or think about the flip side. Hey, is there anything else that you guys can give in with this? Because it looks like we're giving up a lot. What can you give to us? Or you're saying, hey, look, is there anything else you can do? And, you know, that timid, you look at the difference of those two photos on there. And think about what your gestures and everything you're doing. So is it assertive, aggressive, or timid? But also think about the impact of building rapport and how important rapport is. And rapport, research studies time and time again have said how important building rapport is to have a negotiated agreement. There's a direct connection between that. Examples of rapport: eye contact, open-handed gestures. You see the full list on there. And again, it's a cluster of those actions. And again, you look at different types of communication. Think about the judgment, the intention, and whether it leaks out. And I'm connecting this with touch, the movement, and adapters. Jumping ahead with the 1T is, you look at the difference on the bottom, the pictures. And is it head to hand or hand to head? And think about the difference of, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. Or, okay, that sounds interesting. And think about that. Are you building rapport, diminishing it? Are you working collaboratively with the other person? Because think about, in negotiation, you need two yeses in order for that agreement. And are your gestures and your movement, are they contributing in that, or are they hindering it? Eye contact. Remember I said eye contact, very, very important. It was top of the list. But think about different types of eye contact. Is it genuine, or is it just weird? What you see on the screen, this is not what you want people associating with your eye contact. It's weird. You look like a cow. You're staring at people. Not good. That's not how I'm suggesting it. Is it friendly, genuine, openness, building rapport? Big difference from looking like those cows on the screen. So always take a moment, think about how you're projecting your nonverbal communication. And again, gestures. Think about the impression, how they're connected. Talk about context clusters. We look at the clusters, the gestures along with your tone. And now let's move on to environment. Think about how important the environment is. We were saying that earlier. 3 different room options. Think about any negotiation that you were involved in or one that's coming up. Why would you pick one room over the other? And think about the impact. How is that going to help guide the negotiation in the direction that you want it to? Because think about it. As a negotiator, you're trying to guide things the way that you want. Aside of your gestures, your eye contact, your tone, your body language, the environment can either help or hinder your negotiation. And again, think about whether it's you want to have it formal, like a conference room, or the other end of the spectrum, just, hey, let's just meet at the cafe to go over these things for your negotiation. We look at touch. We talked about that. If you're shaking hands, do you shake hands with one or all? And think about the impact, or even what kind of handshake do you do? Is it, a crusher? Or is it known as, like a floppy dead fish, or, a stack of carrots where it's so rigid? Think about the impact, and is it congruent, or is it, what kind of signals are your handshakes sending? And again, tone. Is your tone congruent with the verbal message that you're sending? Because you can say the most friendliest, nicest things, and your tone is not, assertive in the sense. Or when you're really trying to stress something, is your tone coming off as aggressive and promoting a collaborative atmosphere, or confrontational? Collaborative or confrontational? Think about how important your tone is. Appearance. I said that before. People are making first impressions before you even start talking. Think about it. You're at a formal business negotiation going on. You're wearing your business suit, but then all of a sudden, what's that? They notice your white socks, and it's, at least where I come from, that's kind of odd that you wear white socks. And what happens, instead of anyone listening to what you're saying or how good your tone is, all they're doing is fixated on those socks. So is your appearance appropriate given the context of the situation? And again, we looked at a research study, 4 different outfits for different types of negotiation settings, and people who were given feedback on what they thought was appropriate or not appropriate. So think about that before you even get into the content of your negotiation. Is your outfit helping or hindering trying to get what you want? So as a quick review for this presentation, practice. It's a work in progress. You gotta keep trying out these things. Step 1, just be aware of it. Step 2, is it your intention the same as the perception of the other person? If not, you gotta bring congruence between them. It's the little things make the big impact. Remember that. All these little things that you say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Guess what? You keep adding them up, all of a sudden it is a big deal. It's also a science and an art. Consider yourself, we're different people. You learn it, you see how other people are doing it, it might not work effectively for you, so you have to adapt. And again, the whole idea is always going back to the goal in mind, is for yourself to come out of that negotiation better than how you were before it started. And again, perception, intention. Are people perceiving things the way that you intended it? And it's always a work in progress. There's no finish line to this. There's always going to be another negotiation. Just always try and do a little bit better than you did on the previous one. And again, your nonverbal communication can help or hinder you during your next negotiation session. Here's some contact information if you want to stay in touch or if you ever have any questions. Otherwise, thank you so much. I hope this helped raise your awareness of the impact of nonverbal communication in negotiation, and the META acronym, movement, environment, touch, tone, and appearance, can help you again be a better negotiator. So best of luck during your next negotiation session. Thank you.